Hello, everyone. This is the ASA Soccer Advising Podcast. I'm your host, Lino Vallorani. And today we have our guest, Steven McDougall, former professional soccer player in Scotland. He's come over here to Canada and started coaching, was also a technical director with a club here as well, and now runs his own soccer training called 7-Eleven Soccer. Steven, thanks for being on with us today.
Perfect. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the chance to come on.
Yeah, so just give us a brief bio, Steven, of like how it kind of started for you back in Scotland, and then kind of your steps towards, playing from youth soccer to professional, and then you came over here and then started coaching and became a technical director and then went into your own private training. So if you just give us a bit of a background.
Football for us back home started really, really young. Similar to here, they do like the house league and different things. So I started really young, 5, 6 years old. And from that age, we were already training 3 or 4 times a week with a club. So you train during the week, and then on the weekend you'll play. Could be 1, 2, 3 games. A lot more football over there than they do here.
Right.
So that started really young, and from there, that was pretty much my life for 30 years, probably a little bit longer. So from the age of 6, you're training constantly every night, weekends. From there, you have, like, Scotland has 42 professional clubs. So you have scouts from all those clubs watching kids from 6, 7, 8 years old, picking them up, trying to find the best talent they can to take them into their academy. So from a young age, I started training. I think I started training with Rangers when I was 7, 8 years old.
Wow.
And from there, it just goes kind of full time. So you're training every night. You play games on the weekend. Then you play for your club team as well. So you play in this academy, you play in your club team. You have school football, you have provincial football from a young age. So it's just constant, but it's a very clear path if you want to go from youth football straight into professional football when you get to that age. So you start to go through the age groups, and when you get to U15, that's crunch time. Like that's decision time. So at the end of your U15 season, that's whether or not they decide that you're going to have like a full-time professional contract, or if you're going to go back and play like another year as a U16 with the opportunity to then go in again at the end. So for me, I left school at 15. So I graduated high school 15, turned professional the next day. Signed up to turn professional, and yeah, that was pretty much it. From a youth football into professional football, that's a lot more difficult over here because you don't leave school till a little bit later. But back home, they get you out of school as quick as they can to try and get you into football as quick as possible. So
you graduated high school at 15?
Yeah.
Wow. So
but
that's much different from here.
Yeah. So that's normal. That's normal over there. That's not.
Right.
So I'm born in June. So I left school just at the end of June, just before my 16th birthday. So some people, if they're born, later in the year, they're leaving at like 15 and a half.
Right.
Because of the time of the year. But we do 4. You can do 4 years in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Up to fourth year. At the end of fourth year is when you do your final exams, so like your standard grade exams.
Right.
And from there, you pass them. That's your graduated high school. There's not so much a big onus on post-secondary education back home. I don't know anybody that went to university in Scotland. Certainly none of my friends.
Right.
Whereas here, it's such a brilliant avenue to go from secondary into like post-secondary university, college, and play football at the same time.
Right.
Whereas back home, it's for footballers, it's straight into football. So
you said you were in the Rangers Academy?
Yeah.
So then when you moved forward and you did sign pro, was it with Rangers or was it with a different club?
Yeah, so I started off Rangers, 16, and then I went to Airdrie. Another team is a division down, so I dropped down 1 division to try and get first team football. At the time, Rangers first team was like so stacked with like unbelievable players, like so many players that were ahead of me in ability and in age. So it was one of those situations where can hang around and you can train and get the best training and you can keep trying for sure. I was pretty impatient as a footballer. Like I always wanted to play and I always wanted to try and get into a first team as quick as possible. So
Right.
I moved to Airdrie and managed to get myself into the first team at 16, 17. I think at that point, there was some teammates that stayed at Rangers that maybe should have left, looking back at it now.
Mhm.
They didn't make the first team. And then by the time they left Rangers at, 2021, they hadn't played any first team games.
Right.
Whereas by the time I was 2021, I'd already played probably close to 200 first team games. So
Oh, wow.
there's a different kind of, I guess, a different learning or a different grounding. So yeah, I enjoyed it. And then from there, like you move, you always want to try and get to the higher level again.
Right.
So from Airdrie, we were in it's in the championship. So in Scotland, you have the Premiership, which is the top level. Then you have the Championship, which is the second one. We were in the Championship and we had a good team, some real good players, but I don't think we were ever going to get promoted with the team that we had in the league. So I get transferred to another team in the same league. So I went to Dunfermline. Like their goal was to get promoted. They were a Premier League team that had come down to the Championship. So everything that they set up, the players that they signed, the manager they had, everything, the stadium was set up to go back to the Premier League.
Right.
Whereas for Airdrie, it was, we want to try and stay, mid-table. We want to push to win for sure, but we're quite happy being in the middle of the pack. So I went to Dunfermline, and from there we got promoted to the Premier League. So
you're back up.
Yeah, I managed to get there. So it takes some time, and you know soccer or football as well as anybody. There's sometimes things don't go your way all the time.
Right.
But, you have to dig in and show a bit of resilience and kind of fight against it to try and get to where you want to be. And it's not always going to be perfect, but
right.
if you work hard and put the time in and stuff, then I believe the opportunities come for sure.
You played pro soccer until what age?
So I actually finished over here. So I finished over here at 30, 33, 34. So
right. Where did you play here?
I played in the old CSL when it was a league. I don't know if it still is. It was before the CPL. I played for a team called York Region Shooters in the Vaughan area, and again some real good players, like real good setup. That was actually what my work permit was to come over to Canada. That's how I managed to move here. Was to be a professional footballer for the Shooters. So
I see.
Yeah, so that's how I managed to get here, because that was the job.
Right. So you made your way over.
Yeah.
And then once your professional career came to an end, you still wanted to stay involved in the game, obviously. So you started. Did you start with coaching, or how did that start?
Yeah, so I started 7-Eleven soccer, like you mentioned earlier. So I was doing that. I was doing that whilst I was still playing. So pretty much from the time I got to Canada, I started doing that just on my own. That's my thing. Like I enjoyed the one-on-one training and the private training. So I done that for a while, more so in the summers, and then from there, because I enjoyed the coaching, I was like, I actually really like this. I wonder what it would be like, to work with teams. So from there, probably after a few months, I started looking to try and coach a team. So I was playing and doing the private stuff and coaching a team just at the beginning, just to try and kind of get your foot in somewhere and kind of see how it lays out. So yeah, whilst I was still playing, I started my own thing and then started coaching at a team.
When you started coaching, did you see a major difference between the players, let's say back in Scotland, at that same age?
No, I don't think so. The level and the ability, the technical level, like very, very similar. Very similar. I think what I noticed when I first came over here is there was a slight difference between people in Europe or people in the UK about how much they want football, or like how much they just football every single day. Like it's the way I was brought up. It was always, you finish school, everybody just goes to the field just to play. There's always somebody there. There's always a ball. There's always something going on. When I first came over here, and I'm looking at like the fields at and kind of Burlington where I'm just now, like the fields always looked great. They looked immaculate. The nets were always up as well, and they were always empty.
Right.
I'm like how can you like, I know back home people would be like, you would have to play a game against somebody to try and win to keep the field. Like it was like when people play pool, you need to beat the person to get on the table. Like there was
Right.
so much people, like different ages, everything,
Yeah.
just dying to play football. And if there was nets, like there would be,
Right.
it'd make everybody be beyond happy because there's football nets up. Whereas when I come here, I thought that everything was very structured. Like everything was always, if you're training because you want to get better. Whereas over in Scotland, people just play football because they love the sport, and then
Right.
the kind of the byproduct of that is you become better.
Right.
So it was like we love playing this game, and whilst we love playing it, we're getting better. Whereas when I first came to Canada, the way that I felt having speaking to some people was everything had to be set up or structured, or there had to be a coach there, or you had to be, like we've seen it loads of times now. Like you see people putting down cones, they'll take their own cones to the field and they'll dribble around their own cones and stuff, and that's great. They're out there practicing. But like if you had a group of like 5 or 6 people and you just kicking the ball about, it doesn't give it's definitely more of a structured learning thing here
Yeah.
than it was back home. Back home was just
Yeah.
go and play and enjoy it. So
Yeah. So I think too, like when I was growing up, it was a little bit more like Scotland at the
yeah.
time. We would just go to the field and play all the time,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
And like you said, having a net to keep the ball from, rolling
Yeah.
was a bonus, right? So
Oh,
I know I agree 100%. Growing up, the kids played in the streets all the time, whether we were playing hockey or whether we were playing soccer.
yeah.
And that's
Mhm.
where I think like a lot of young, talented players just kept getting better because we were completely free.
100%. I
No one
don't.
telling you, hey, don't do this and don't do
Yeah.
that. And you know what I mean? Why are you holding on to the ball too long? Or
Mhm.
all of these where you're manipulating the players, what you see at today, where a lot of
Yeah.
these players are being coached from the sideline, right? And even
Yeah.
in instruction, you're sometimes it's not as free, right? When they're instructing in practice. So when you're playing just for fun, when you hear Thierry Henry say, I played every day,
Every single day.
every day I played,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you don't see that today,
No,
and
you don't.
that's an issue that we're having right across the board. I think, trying to become a soccer nation, let's say,
Yeah.
right? We do have good players,
Yeah, the players are great. Like some of the players that I've been lucky enough to work with over the years, like male, female, like
right?
very, very good players. I think for us growing up, I know that the times are a little bit different and stuff because I see it with my own kids. When I was growing up, if we went to the field and there was, 15 people there, somebody would organise the game. Somebody would be the referee. Somebody would set up the goals,
Yeah,
and the games would always be even. Like it would
right,
never be one team would beat the other team 15-0,
right,
because if that was happening, people would fix the teams and reorganize the teams to make it a little bit
right,
more even. Like that's the way it would work. Whereas that was just like football, just problem solving football, and then you go and play, and it's whatever. There was never any coach at the side telling you this, and that. You had your times where you were with your coach for
right, of
sure,
course,
but what you're learning there, you're then putting into practice for another,
right,
30 hours on your own to kind
right,
of master it, I guess. Whereas I think one of the things we're missing here, and what you touched on there, we don't have people on the street, playing as much as they used to back in the day. Players here, they'll train 4 times a week, and then they'll play their game on the weekend, which they maybe get to play 50 minutes of gameplay.
right,
That's not enough if they want to go top level university, or certainly not top level professional, or even at any level professional or any level at university. You have to be good for sure. And I know you already know this. The level of these players to get into a D1 school or to go to the States or to turn professional, whatever, it's difficult because
yeah,
you've got people doing 3 or 4 times a week thinking that that's enough,
right,
whereas it's not enough. But then the problem we kind of have here, I guess, is some of these leagues have so many rules about the amount of minutes you can play in a game, and
right,
some of the clubs, they make it difficult for their players to go and get extra training somewhere else because they want to manage their workload or whatever their reasons are. But like these players, like there's no surprise that Thierry Henry is one of the best players in the world ever. And he's telling you, I played every single day without fail. And I'm sure that's the same for the other players as well. Like it's no surprise that, the best players in the world come from some of the European countries, some of the South American countries. They're always playing soccer all the time, every single day. And they don't need the best grass field or even the best football. They just find a way to play and they enjoy it and they love it. And it's just part of the culture. And that's probably the hardest thing, I think, trying to get into Canada is building the football culture, because we have so many smart coaches, very, very smart coaches, and some great clubs as well. But there's something missing, whether it be guidance or the fact that there's so many clubs and so many programs and so many different pathways. It's so difficult to navigate for different players.
Yeah, for sure. We do have so many different groups and teams that you can join and play. And whereas I remember growing up and playing in, I'm gonna date myself, but in the 80s and 90s, there wasn't that many teams to go to. So, you would get a concentration of really good players on certain, on a 6 or 7 or 8 teams, right?
Yeah.
And we did play a lot in the street, and we did play a lot of unstructured, right? They're even saying, Del Piero was saying the other day, in Italy, you don't see as many kids in the streets anymore because they're inside.
Yeah.
That's a whole, that's crazy when you think about a country like Italy, let's say, that's produced some of the best players ever and the best team. And now they're facing that same kind of dilemma. Like, why aren't the pitches full of kids and the streets full of kids and down the alleyways? Because, if you can play in a terrible field or on a cobblestone street, let's say, and then you go to a perfect pitch,
it makes you better.
You're so much better, right?
Yeah.
So
I tell players all the time, like, if you go and play, like there's always schools here. The schools are always open. You've got a wall there, and you've got the concrete. The ball bounces, and it's so much faster on the concrete than it is on the turf or on the grass. You go and spend some time doing that, you will absolutely become a better player by far.
Right.
The problem is that sometimes I'll say to players, you need to work on your left foot, just say, to make it an easy one. You work on your left foot. So if you go to the wall and you just pass the ball off the wall a couple of 100 times a day, it'll take you 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever. I know it's not the most entertaining thing, but that work that you're doing away from everybody else is going to make you so much better when you're going to your team or your structured training or your games or school. It's going to make you so much better. It's worth putting that time in there to improve, to then move over. Yeah. But because it's not fancy and there's not a coach there like commenting on every pass or correcting all these things, it's very, very difficult to get the buy-in from some players, whereas I think they're just like, no, it's fine, we'll come out, we'll do some extra training and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, great, but like, this isn't what you need. You don't need a coach to tell you every single thing. You need to go and get these basics perfect. Then when you come to see a coach, we can try and make things faster or more efficient or whatever, because you've already passed the ball off the wall 500 times. Like, if somebody comes to me for a private session and it's just one-on-one, and they know that there's certain parts of their game that they need to work on and they're unsure about it, 100%, I totally believe that those players, after they leave in the hour, would have picked something up for sure. But they still then need to go and spend hours on their own to do the same things that the coaches told them, rather than like keep coming back for more information. Like, sometimes it just needs to be, you get the information, you go and practice, you come back a week, a month later, whatever, we move on to something else, and then you start to build up your stuff. But it's probably a generational thing. Like, if it's happening in Italy, which is obviously like one of the best footballing countries in the world all the time for the past however amount of years, if they're noticing a difference over there, we might not be able to get the same sort of thing in Canada. So
yeah, it's funny because I used to tell my kids all the time, champions are made on their own, right?
100%.
They're the ones that are taking the ball and they're just going to the field on their own and,
Mhm.
just playing around, even if there's no one there, or like you said, kicking the ball
Yeah,
off of a school wall for
yeah, makes a
hours.
big
We
difference.
we used to do that just for fun because what else were
Yeah,
we going to do? We didn't want to stay in the house,
yeah, and,
right? But
and
now they want to stay in the house.
I know,
It's
I
it's the
know.
opposite, right? Remember when we were growing up, and if you got in trouble, get in the house,
Yeah, I know.
right? And now
Or
and
you're
now it's like
grounded.
you get in trouble, go outside.
Yeah, I used to. My parents used to. They used football as a control. So
Yeah,
if I wasn't doing well in school, or I wasn't silly things like keeping my room tidy, putting the stuff away,
right,
I'd be, well, you're not going to football then. I mean, I'd run so fast to get
right.
everything organised, everything fixed. Whereas them saying, "Oh, you're grounded. You're not going out. Things get done." I say to my kids now, "You're grounded. It
Yeah,
makes no difference. They're in the house half the time anyway." So
yeah, I know. When you were in an academy in Europe, are you going to in school and on the pitch during like throughout the day, or is it
yeah,
you go to school and then half a day? I think in Europe they a lot of times they do half a day, and then the afternoon you would go back on the pitch. Like, is that the way it's structured here? Because I don't think we really have. I mean, there are some private academies that might do that here, but for the most part, I don't think we really have that here. So in Europe, I think it's you get the opportunity to train more.
yeah, for sure you do. If I take Scotland as an example, or my own kind of youth career, if you like, they set you up to be a footballer.
Right,
They're not like here in Canada. Very like very smart. Like education here is great. Like most people will finish school and they'll go into university, they'll go to college or whatever. So they're setting up the kids in the schools to be academically like super smart, so they can go to their university or whatever, and then they get their job after that. In Scotland, they're setting you up to be a footballer. Like
right,
if you're good at football at a young age, the school then comes second. Like
right,
they have the speech with you. School's important. You need to have a fallback, but it gets treated as a fallback. So
right,
you go to school, and you could train before school, or you'll go to school, you'll do your work, you'll have your lunch, then you'll play football again, then you'll go and spend some time with like a tutor to try and get you through some extra stuff, then you go and train again, then you go to the academy at night and you train again. Like it could be up to 3 times a day where you're spending like 5 hours on the field. And I can never remember as a kid going, "Oh, I'm so tired. I don't want to go. I don't want to go back tomorrow, Dad. Like my legs are tired." I can never. I mean, I'm sure there was probably times where I was, but I can never remember ever being fed up, or ever not wanting to go, or ever having been forced to go. Like it was always like I just loved football, loved training, loved
right,
going to training. And you would train like you could train three times a day, just say totaling 5 hours, 4 or 5 times a week before you've even touched the field at the weekend for your games. And by the time you get to a certain age, like you're already like very competent on the ball, right foot, left foot, because you've done so many different training sessions, so many reps. Plus, you're training on your own. Like you're going and playing, doing your own thing. So, I think in Europe and Scotland, for sure, if they see talent in a player who's young,
right.
they're building that player to be a footballer, but also helping them with school. Whereas I think in Canada here, from what I see or my own experiences, a lot of the parents that I speak to, the school is their focus. That's
Yeah,
100% their focus, so that they can have, and it makes sense. Good job, good career is the number one priority, because they don't have a professional pathway here where if you turn professional at a young age, you're going to be making good money
right,
to have your career there. So you could go in Scotland, just say, or anywhere in Europe, you go 15 to 16, and you could be making more money than your parents who are
right,
running a house, looking after children, driving cars, stuff like that. If you're good, if they then invest in that player, whether they give your parents money or they give you money for your travelling or your food or your boots or whatever it is, they're investing there. They only have to sell you for a little bit of money to make all that money back and then some. and we know how much the transfers go for
Right.
over in Europe. Like, you invest, just say, a couple 100,000 in a player, a youth player from the age of 6 until 16, and you end up selling that player for 5 million. You've more than made
Right.
your money back there, and that happens all the time. Like, it's a constant thing. So yeah, it's probably the big difference there with the schooling.
Yeah, that's for sure. And just not enough time on the ball, I think, for a lot of these young
Yeah,
players, right? It's really structured. And now that you're training, you've been doing this since you've come over. You've
yeah.
been doing 7-Eleven soccer.
Mhm.
What do you like when you're training these kids? Like, do you find that kids are intrinsically motivated, like really want to be there, or do you find it that there's a lot of kids that are just there because their parents are saying, "Hey, you need some extra training to kind of keep up with everyone else," let's say.
If the players are not motivated to be there to come out and train, then I don't have them in the sessions.
Right,
I think if somebody's going to come out and they're going to do private training or they're going to do small group training, it's time. It's time for players. It's time for me. It's time for family. It can be expensive as well. Like, if I see a player that comes out and they're not motivated to be there, and it hasn't happened a lot, but I would have a conversation with the parent and I would just say, listen, like, this is not the right environment for your kid. If your kid wants to come out and train, they need to be they need to be training, like, they need to
right,
be motivated, they need to be working hard. The whole thing about the extra training is you're putting work in away from everybody else. So if you're only putting 50% in, expecting to get 100% out, you're just going to go back to your team, and it's just going to be the same. Like,
right,
you're not going to get the benefits. So if you're doing an extra hour, you need to be working. Like, you need to be doing the exercises properly. You need to be listening. You need to be trying things. Like, we're try and get people organised, build confidence, make sure they're working. So the players that I have, and last year I done just close to 500 sessions last year. It's a lot of sessions over the course of the year, but the players that are there for sure are motivated,
right,
because I couldn't have them there
right,
if they weren't. When they go when they go to their team training, and there's, depending on the age, I guess, there's another thing. Like, if you go to team training and there's 28 players, just say, in half a dome, or 28 players on half a field, and you've got 2 or 3 coaches, or maybe got a couple of parent volunteer coaches and stuff, you can hide for sure as a player.
right,
If you don't want to get involved, or
right,
you're not quite feeling it, you can hide and you could go unnoticed for the full session. There'll be sessions when, and it's not nothing against the coaches, but coaches can't watch 28 players
right.
and manage their work and their effort and their coaching, and they can't do it. It's impossible. So in a team session, fine, they can do it. But if they're coming and they're going to be training as part of a group of 4 players, say, and there's 3 players that are mega motivated and 1 player that kind of likes the idea about being a footballer but just doesn't have the same motivation, it stands out a mile away for a coach, but it also stands out a mile away for the players. So for the most part, I would say, yeah, for sure, the players that are looking to come out and do private training, and sometimes we'll train at 7 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m.,
Right.
just to get the training in, or we'll train on, different days opposite their games. And for sure, I think definitely the impression I get that the players are,
Yeah.
mega motivated to get out and get training and get.
Well, I have firsthand experience because I brought Simona to you, my
Yeah.
daughter, and that helped her tremendously throughout her journey as a soccer player. She loved coming to you, not just for the actual technical part of the training, but it was also the mindset, the motivation that she got, the feeling that she
Yeah.
got when she left training with you was like,
Yeah.
oh, I feel good. I feel good about my ability to maybe strike it with my left foot or to
Yeah.
cross it with my left foot. So that helped her a lot. That's one of the things that I found working with you was, or it was she when she was working with you, was that part of it I kind of didn't always get from someone else, right?
Yeah.
From another trainer. That mental component was
Yeah.
just just huge for her, right?
Yeah, and
and probably
that's part of the
for a
that's
lot of
part of the
players.
training as well. Like
Yeah,
if you see how much effort Simona puts in to her training,
right,
like you don't have to coach her effort. You don't have to tell her to try harder or
right,
move faster. Like she's locked in all the time. Like all her sessions, she's super focused on it. And part of these sessions are trying to build the players' confidence as well. Like
Mhm.
if the players are playing in a certain position and they like I remember with Simona, we worked a lot on crossing because she was playing right back at the time, so she's getting into good positions to cross the ball. Or if she was getting forward to have shots on goal, or having the confidence to hit a shot with her right foot or her left foot, and then trying to work out the distance, where's comfortable for a shot. Part of people coming out is sometimes they don't get the chance to speak to their coach or to ask a question, or maybe they think it's a silly question, or it's something that maybe hasn't been explained properly and takes longer than 2 minutes, which sometimes in a team session is hard to find when you've got so
right,
many players. So the players that come out that are motivated, the players that come out and want to try things and they listen to things as well, because sometimes the players need building their confidence for sure, but sometimes you need to coax them a little bit to that you can do this. Like I've just watched you cross the ball 10 times. All right, you've maybe missed a couple. That's going to happen. It's going to happen in the game as well. But if you think about in a game, you get 10 opportunities to cross the ball and you deliver 8 crosses like you just did there, what are they going to remember? They're going to remember the 8 good crosses. They're not going to worry about the two. And from those 8 crosses, you're probably going to get a goal anyway, maybe two.
right.
So it kind of builds the confidence to go and try and do it. And then whatever you do in the training session, it should be transferable over as well. Like I know there's not as much pressure in the training, but if you're taking a touch out your body and you're going to cross the ball, your body shape and your muscle memory and the same feeling that you're having there should then go into a game. So I think that's where the repetitions come in. Like you get as many kind of reps in as you can, and you get the confidence from there. Like especially on the girls' side, like I probably coach, I'd say maybe 70% girls, 30% boys. The girls, I think, get more out of the private sessions because they feel confident and they feel comfortable and they feel happy. So they then transfer it into their game and they see the benefits faster than what a male player would. I don't know why that is. I'm not sure, but definitely over the years, and this summer here will be my 11th summer on the field doing private sessions, so it's a long time. I think the girls, I don't know if it's a listening thing at the training, but
Hmm.
they go into the games and you'll hear, oh, I scored a goal, I done this, I crossed in that. And I'm like, great. Whereas the boys are just like, who cares? they can do it anyway, they say. So
Yeah. So where can people find you? Like you have a Instagram website. You have a link there to everything.
yeah, just website,
Yeah.
Instagram. I do a lot on Instagram. Like
Yeah.
I have all the social media things, but I think Instagram seems to be the kind of the most popular one over the
Right.
years. Outside people searching if they don't have Instagram is usually on the website, and then it
Right.
comes through that way. So
Right.
it's been great. Like it's such a obviously I have another full-time job, so I do this on my own time. So I
Right.
do it on my days off. In the summer I do it. I love being on the field with the players, and every single year it seems to be getting more and more players are looking to train or looking to come out, and then you start to get maybe 5 or 6 years ago I had the older one. Now I'm getting like the younger brother or the younger sister coming out, and
Yes.
the competition's there, and
Yeah.
the parents are going, so who's better? Is this one better or is my younger better? I'm like, I'm not answering that. I'm not answering that question.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, just website, Instagram,
Yeah.
easy to
Word,
find.
yeah. Word of mouth too. You're here. You're in the Burlington area. We found you. It was word of mouth at the time. Word of mouth is the biggest for sure. Like
I've never had to do any, advertising or anything like that. I've always been lucky. There's always been somebody that's passed on some kind words or has had a good experience
yeah.
that's came over. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's been
I,
good.
well, I know we had a great experience right from the beginning.
Right.
I honestly, you were one of the biggest influences on Simona for
Thank you.
sure, because when she came to you, she's always been a good player, tenacious. She has a lot of speed, all of that. But she came to you and she needed that boost, that confidence, and I think that was a big thing for her. And I know that you're doing that for all the other players as well. So
I think it makes a difference for sure. Like I'm not there to scream and shout at people, and you know, it's not something I liked as a kid. It used to happen, but it's not something I enjoyed. So if they're going to come and spend an hour with me, they need to be comfortable and they need to be confident. They need to be learning. So I'm glad Simona had a good experience, because she was great to work with as well. So
and she has a bit of Scottish in her, so she loved the accent. So
Sometimes people look at me like I've no clue what that guy just said.
I know. I mean, I've had conversations with you, and I had to like dig deep just to understand what you said. But
I know it's my fault. I don't get offended when people ask me to repeat myself. So it's all good.
Okay, so I want to end the podcast. I'm going to do some rapid fire questions. Okay, just most underrated skill in soccer
from a technical point of view.
Yeah.
Underrated skill, shooting. Always, somebody can shoot properly.
Right.
They're going to be a game changer. People don't spend enough time working on it, for sure.
Yeah.
Nowhere near enough.
I know. When I played, I couldn't hit the side of a barn. My coach.
But you know what? Like, we work on all these like PowerPoint presentations and passing at the back and all these different things, and we make everything about making decisions and all that stuff. But we don't ever get coaches just putting the player in front of the goal and letting them work on their technique, right foot, left foot, in the air, volleys, everything. So they come to me at 14 and 15 and they can't strike the ball properly, or they're missing it, and they're strikers. So you get good at that. You're already halfway there for sure.
Best advice you received at a young age?
Everything I get taught when I was younger was always around the controllables. So you can control, being there on time, working hard for as long as you're there, putting in more effort than everybody else, having a good attitude, being coachable. Those are all choices that you make as a player. If you choose to turn up late, or not sleep properly, or not eat properly, or not train properly, then you can't expect to get any results out. So the football part always kind of took care of itself because I loved doing it. But the controllables were, maybe not going out the night before to, hang about with your friends or whatever because you've got a game in the morning, or missing a party because you've got something. So, definitely those things. Like, if you want to make it, then you have to do all these things every single time. And if you don't come to me with an excuse that something went against you when you're not doing your part properly. So probably be that.
Favorite pro team?
Glasgow Rangers, without a doubt. No question. I'm not one of these, I like this team and I like that team. My only team is Glasgow Rangers. That's it.
Favorite player all time?
Favorite player of all time, Barry Ferguson. He played for Rangers when I was a kid, and then I was fortunate enough to play for him when he was a manager at Clyde. He was the best that I've seen on a world stage. Oh, Messi, Ronaldo, like, take your pick. There's so many.
Thanks for coming on with us today. Steven from 7-Eleven Soccer, so check that out. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, ASA Soccer Advising. Again, thanks a lot, Steven. I appreciate you coming on today.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Okay.
See you soon.
Okay. Take care.
Thanks, man.